Thank you all for joining us. Like Miss Denise said, it is Black Music Month, and as we know, the DMV is rich with culture and musical brilliance. So I'm extremely honored to bring just one example of that. Akinola Pedro will be joining us today, and more importantly, will also be joining us at Songbird Music House on June 29th. But before we bring Pedro on, we have a clip from one of his new songs from his latest album that he'll be performing on the 29th. Let's take a look.
Are you listening to me? Are you watching how I walk? Are you really into me? Or am I just amongst the flow? Am I really special love? But when you can't live without, speak to me like right and wrong. Show me how to prove it, love. Of admirations, so impatient. Feed my cravings, these infatuations.
Hello, Pedro. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Hi, Jada. Nice to finally meet you in person.
Yes, and happy Black Music Month to you, and congratulations on your tour that you're currently on.
Thank you so much. First, if I can just start this off, I read the story that you did on me, and I'm super grateful for just everything in terms of that. What I really wanted to highlight just really quickly was the fact that you stayed on the current me. And I'm super appreciative. And I think a lot of artists respect that in terms of the journalism. So I just wanted to compliment you on that.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Pedro. Honestly, I really enjoyed our conversation. I'll be referencing some of our initial conversation in, allowing our audience today to learn a little bit more about the new you and your current brand. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what you mean by that? Because of course I know about your rebrand story, but for everyone who's listening.
I think in terms of just like with artists specifically, right? I think artists are always growing every single time, and I think when it comes to trying to capture a new audience or trying to just progress yourself, right? You always want people to focus on the current, even not the past, whether it's past accomplishments or other things, past accolades and stuff like that. So I think it's very important that it's commendable from you that you highlighted what's the current me, which is the mission I'm on in terms of when we talk about the show on the 29th. That's really, it's really important.
Excellent. Awesome. I'm really glad, and I'm so happy that you feel that way. It was truly a pleasure. And for this show on the 29th, and from the clip we just saw, your new album, Pomegranate, super good. And first off, I want to say, while I was writing the story and even this morning getting in tune today, I was playing the album. I already have some personal favorites. I'll tell you right now, 100. I play 100 all the time. I love that song.
That's my favorite song on there.
Really? Okay. So tell me why you think so, and I'll tell you why I think so.
So specifically as an artist, 100 was the song when I was creating it. When I was creating the album, I was going through a period of kind of like a stagnant period of just not being able to grow. So I would take ideas from other people, whether it's sampling or interpolations like that. But when me and my producer, the 22 Fall, when he came up with that production, I instantly was able to create something from what I was feeling and what I was going through. So when we talk about the hook itself is like, it's an original hook. It's not a reference to something that's from the past. It's something that comes from me. And as an artist, that's something that's important to me. It shows that I'm being my own person and not trying to take from whether it's my heroes or take from what's going on currently.
Excellent. What I love about it, and to get into our next question, is it really highlights that parallel. There's a story throughout the entire album of a character named Alice, which I would love for you to tell us about more. And it seems like all the songs definitely take us through Alice's journey and finds different ways to kind of hint at the whole point of what you mentioned, trying to understand a woman's worth. And I just love how that song really seemed like that ego versus reality debate. So tell us about Alice, and how do you see Alice within yourself while you were putting this album together?
Well, with Alice specifically, In terms of Pomegranate's like a straightforward story. It's about Alice and two characters actually, Alice and Eden.
Mhm.
But it focused more so on Alice. And Alice is a very egotistical person. He has a very egotistical character, which it's so consuming that it literally wrecks his relationship and it wrecks him
Mhm.
specifically. Um, what's funny about Pomegranate was actually initially was supposed to be it started off as an EP that was supposed to be about a neighborhood that I used to stay in Southeast called Bellevue.
Mhm.
And while I was working on the music, I was going through my own personal issues with in personal relationship issues. So songs like Eden, songs like Exodus were old songs that I had prior before
Mhm.
making Pomegranate. So it put me in that space to revisit those songs, and I just kind of like built a world around those two songs.
Excellent. And in case I didn't mention it myself, Eden is the preview of what we just watched in the music video for our audience. So is Eden so far the only track that you've done a video for? Or are you still working on those two?
I've actually done a video for Eden and Exodus.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, can you tell me a little bit? I mean, one thing that we talked about in our conversation, and also in terms of pomegranate, excuse me, and you mentioned your producer, who's also a Washingtonian,
Yeah.
the 22 Fall. Can you tell me what is it about your DC roots that's resonated with you so much throughout your development as an artist?
I think what I love, I'm gonna call him by call him by his first name. What I love about Vince, the 22
Mhm.
Fall, is that he's much more embedded and ingrained in the community in the area in terms of the culture of DC. And for me specifically, I'm kind of very broad most of the time, as you can hear in some of the songs. I'm kind of broad, and I think internationally, but he's someone that I love that keeps me grounded. That home is always, where the heart is. So that's where we kind of like mesh well when it comes to creating music.
Excellent. And in terms of your genre, tell us, what does progressive soul sound like? And give us some examples that come to mind from Pomegranate.
Songs, progressive soul is me trying to be forward thinking. When we talk about Pomegranate specifically, songs like New Edition,
Mhm.
um, songs like Crave, songs like I want to say 102 as well. Those are songs where I'm just kind of like I'm in the sweet spot having of of tapping into the melodic side of music, but also having very great potent lyricism and songwriting.
Mhm.
Um, but if I was to kind of like describe progressive sound, the best version of that is my EP Tatooine,
Okay.
which is where it initially started from. So that's where it kind of like the idea comes from.
Excellent. And I'm glad you mentioned New Edition. So, in listening to the album, of course, I wanted to pull up the lyrics.
Yeah,
And on Genius, it was saying that New Edition, the title came because your mom used to have a love for New Edition. Is that true?
yeah. Oh my God. I literally, I'm not sure if she's watching, but I literally sent her the link to this, and I'm so glad you brought that up because yeah, she was New Edition. Oh my gosh, yeah, she was a huge fan.
I mean, honestly, I get it. I got put on New Edition when they had that BET series, and you would have thought I was in the group. Like, they are phenomenal.
Yeah,
And the beauty of that also, another thing to your DC roots is, your mom, as you said, has a huge impact on your idea of the Black women, and your sister as well, and just how that appreciation from your perspective was like. So can you just talk about, with this album, why did you choose to kind of use this album to tell that story of navigating a woman's worth and understanding how to respect women?
um, like I mentioned before, and I was going through my own personal relationship problems, and it put
Mhm.
me it put me in a spot where it's just like you start to question your you start to question how good of a person you are. That you start to realize like, are you a good person? Are you a bad person? In those type of sense. And it was a lot. What's funny is that one of the artists on the show, Cecily,
Mhm.
we had a conversation about the femininity and the masculinity that resides in both men and women. And I think that was something that kind of like when you listen to the album, that's literally sprinkled all over in terms of the theme. So that was something that I was which it was so strong that it made me change the idea of the whole album, basically. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was very important for me to do, and you can see it's littered. Even the album cover, from how it looks like, that's all from that.
Excellent. And let's talk about now June 29th. You will be at Songbird Music House with, as you mentioned, Cecily and three other Black women on the bill, Milan, O-Slice, and Kiara. Is it pronounced?
Yeah.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about these women and how you got to this idea of this collective bill and, highlighting different DMV artists.
Um, the idea for the show has always been on my mind. Actually, I think my publicist Lena, she is the one who her and Alex Vaughn did a similar type of show for Women's Month in March a couple of years back, and I always loved that idea. But I've always been around when you look at the list. Outside of possibly O-Slice, who I've not worked with in terms of on records, everyone has been involved in my career, and they've always had like a very important hand in it. So for me, I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by that. So this is kind of like me giving back to these people who's helped me in those in that space. So people like Kiara, she was on my first album, and that album vocally doesn't sound the way it's supposed to sound without her. Cecily, who I've always been a fan of prior to even me getting traction in music, she was always someone I was been a fan of. So she's someone that I've always just wanted to see perform with too, because we've never even performed together.
Oh,
Then
really?
yeah, we've never. So it's gonna be it's a lot of special things that happen in that night.
Awesome.
And a few surprises too that I have underneath my sleeves. But Milan is someone who I'm currently building a new rapport with, and she's someone who I admire in terms of her ambition, which kind of like likes the ambition that I have in music, and so it just makes me champion her.
And I have to
And
get. Oh,
O-Slice too. O-Slice, right?
Mhm.
Can't forget O-Slice. O-Slice, she's one of the illest rappers in the area. It's just crazy how we've never actually worked together, even though all the people in music that we know are mutuals.
Absolutely. And for our listeners, I also had a chance to talk with Milan and O-Slice in doing the initial story with Pedro. So you can learn a little bit more about their sound and their contributions from that story as well. And I have to give a shout out to Milan, that opener on Pomegranate. Beautiful. The way you guys
Man,
merged.
what?
Beautiful.
I didn't tell her, I didn't give her an idea of what the album was about or what she should do. I just sent her the song, said, if you can come up with something, and it's I call it the perfect foreshadowing to the whole song, to the whole album. And yeah, she did phenomenal.
Excellent. So it was beautiful. It was really a beautiful blend. And I want to tap into a little bit now, now that we're talking about these different Black women artists. And, one thing that was prominent throughout all my conversations with each of you was, wanting to see a shift in the way Black women are, perceived or just in general respected in the music industry. Can you tell me how you would like to see specifically Black women artists in DC kind of change that status quo? And how have you also seen, just for our audience, where have you seen that recurring theme?
I would say this. I just feel like Black women, and I'll speak specifically to the city. Obviously, we're on the Washington Informer. I think they should just continue being unapologetic. I think me and Milana actually have these conversations when it comes to kind of like branding, right? And when we talk about being yourself, when you're able to be yourself, you're able to now create a brand for that self, right? And that is what kind of like transcends your artistry. So I feel like if anything, Black women they have sometimes, and I think we had this conversation. I'm not sure if it was us over the phone, but we had this conversation of just being put in a box. Like you're
Yes.
supposed to make a specific type of music, you're supposed to behave a certain type of way.
Mhm.
And not everybody's the same. We're all individuals, our own separate individuals. And I think if you're just truly being yourself, that's what transcends you.
Excellent. And do you think, speaking for Alice or even just, in your own navigations, do you think by the end of the project, Alice accomplished that goal of, understanding a woman's worth?
No, that album is it's a tragedy, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Alice doesn't learn his lesson. The parable actually at the end of the album, it ends at the beginning of the album's intro. So
Okay.
when you listen to Riot, that's literally the peak of Alice's ego just consuming him.
Mhm.
So
Great beat.
specific personally for me, like I made it to be a loop cycle as a reminder of, you know, for me myself to not make the same mistakes that you made before in the
Mhm.
past. But if you like storytelling, world building and stuff like that, like I do, then there's so many hidden things in that. But if you're just like the music of it, it's literally just a love. It's an album full of love songs and an artist venting his industry frustrations over some nice, beautiful production you can get down to.
Absolutely, 100% agree, and I hope, a lot of people watching this will be able to experience that live on June 29th. Is there anything you hope people take away from the performance?
Yeah, one thing where we're headed into music specifically is that we are in a space now where things are being overpriced, and I think that's everything in society, right? Things are being overpriced, but the the quality of shows are not as it's not worth what you pay for, right? So
Right.
I think for me specifically, even when I was talking to the venues, my main thing, I tried my best, but my main thing was trying to get the price as low as possible because I want people to experience these type of shows. And when you have an event like that specifically, where
Mhm.
it's an all women cast. Like, it's gonna be mind blowing, and not it's not people in the same space. They're all doing their own individual thing. So it's the experience of getting your money's worth. That's what I want from people to experience, and also just like these people are talented, and God, I don't get to a place where I'm at without these people. So yeah,
Well, one thing, I mean, I love the sounds, but I also just love that with each conversation, it's just so obvious how much you appreciate, the people you've worked with, the people who've had an impact in your life in DC and the industry, and that's a really beautiful thing. So I'm excited to see it all come to life myself. I'll be there on June 29th, so I'm looking forward to that. Hope we'll get to meet in person there as well.
oh, for
Uh,
sure we will.
Yes, excellent. But thank you so much, Pedro. You are in LA right now, so it's a lot going on around you. So I hope you make it back here safely.
Thank you. I'm trying. A lot is going on, but yeah, hopefully, God willingly, things will get better.
Absolutely. Well, for our guests, all the links for Akinola Pedro, if you want to get involved in his sounds and his platform, which you absolutely should, and definitely listen to Pomegranate. I promise it is amazing. You're going to listen to it twice and even more than that. um, but thank you so much for joining us today, Pedro. It was excellent talking to you.
Thank you so much, Shada.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.